Hey, this is Clint with Textey, and this is our fourth video in a series about our new feature called Conversations. So if you haven't seen the first few videos, I'd recommend taking a look at those just to sort of get caught up on what Conversations is and what sort of changes that brings along with the data model and some of the components. In this video, we're going to look at the inbox component. So you may be familiar with this. This is really a page where I can go inside Salesforce. It's called the Textey Conversations tab. On this page, I can really manage multiple conversations in one place. And so in previous versions of Textey, when you looked at the left-hand side of the screen and you saw the list of conversation, or really it was a list of messages is what it was. They were just in chronological order, but it was a listing or a grouping of sort of messages grouped uniquely by the phone number that they were being sent to. And you had the option to really view the messages that you owned. So as a Salesforce user, you're logged in. I can see the messages that I owned, or I could toggle it. I can see all messages, right, which would really sort of open up every message that I had that my user profile gave me permission to see. I would just see that in the list, and every message that was sent or received would change that list because the new messages would end up at the top. But it was difficult, is difficult to sort of understand what needs to be responded to, what hasn't been read, what sort of status is this in. So the new Conversations feature allows us to really solve some of those challenges. So now this list is not necessarily showing me a list of messages per se, but it is showing me a list of conversation records. So these are grouped by individual conversation, and if going back to our previous video, we looked at how we now have statuses, right? Open versus close. If a conversation needs a response from us, or if we were the last to respond. Now we can really use those in our filtering. So we've created some advanced filtering options. First of all, so I can scroll up and down this list. Again, this is conversations. And let's look at how to filter those conversations. I click the filter icon. So I can choose to see, all right, do I want to start with all conversations? Obviously this is respecting, the security model of your org and what that user can see based on the security you've designed. So this is all conversations I can see, or I can limit this to just conversations I own. And we'll talk about this one separately. This is basically an outbox of sent messages that may not be part of a conversation per se, but I still sent it. So once we have sort of the set that we want to look at, we can filter by status, right? So I can choose to only see maybe messages that need a response, or messages that I've responded to, meaning it's a conversation, it's open, I was the last one to send the text, or my company was the last one to send the text, waiting on the customer to respond back. Or I can see closed conversations, or I can, any combination of these, right? I can filter by phone number. So if I only want to see all conversations, any status, but I want to limit that maybe to the phone number. So maybe there's a customer service phone number we have that we monitor. Maybe a group of people in the organization monitor inbound texts that come into this particular phone number because that is the service phone number. And so we're monitoring that like a queue. So I don't really want to see conversations that might be with somebody on the sales team or something like that. So we could come down and I could choose one or more phone numbers, any combination I wanted to, and limit the things that I see to just maybe that one particular, or a couple different phone numbers. The last sort of filter option here is list views. So this allows me to take our pre-existing list views for any object that's really text enabled. So if I choose an object, let's choose leads. This is then going to pull in all of my lead list views that I have visibility into. And I could choose one of these list views. What this would do then is limit the conversations even further to only conversations that exist with, let's say, a lead that's part of this list view. So maybe I have a list view called, hot leads or leads this week or whatever it is, and it's got a set of people that match that criteria. And let's say I just want to go and see if there's any conversations that need a response that are with leads who are on my hot lead list. I can create that sort of filter and get down to that level of granularity using this. So for now, though, let's just say all conversations, really any status. Let's uncheck close, right? I only want to see open conversations, essentially. Needs a response or responded, any phone number, that's fine. And I click save. What the save does is this is sticky. It creates a stickiness to this filter so that when the next time I come back to this page, I don't have to re-input my filter. It's just going to memorize the filter that I had until I go back and change it and resave it. So now I'm filtered on these conversations, and I'm only seeing open conversations, right? I can see this one is in red, needs a response. What this means is the customer was the last person to text in. I need to go take a look at this. I could either, if I click into this conversation, which I am, I see a couple things here. I can see that it's the conversation number. I can see it's open. This green banner obviously tells me that it's open, and I can see the owner of the text. I can see the text messages that are in here. Now, I can go back and send a text to this person, or I could close a conversation, right? The conversation maybe it needs response because they were the last one to text in, but maybe it's done. So I can also click end conversation, which will close out this conversation and mark it as closed. So that's how we can sort of use the filters for here. I can maybe go in and choose, a list view. Maybe I want to see any conversations, any status that have taken place with our, US leads. Save that. And then obviously there's nothing that matches that particular filter. So let's say I only want to see conversations that need a response. So there we go. So now I can surface very quickly the conversations that are important, right? Everything else we've responded to. These are the ones that somebody has written us back, and now we need to either close out the conversation or respond. I can also, what's new on this page is I can initiate a new text to somebody that may not be on this list. So if I click this new compose new message icon, I can now get to any record. So let's say I want to go to a lead. So maybe there's not a conversation that exists with this person, but I need to text them. Instead of having to go to the lead record and send the text, I can just search for that person here. This is obviously going to show me a list of recent leads. I can filter. And then when I select the lead, it shows me, okay, what number do I want to text from? What number do I want to text to? I can write my message. I can attach an image. I can use a template. All the features that I'm used to using with Textey, I still have access to. And I can type a message, click send, and then that text message will go out, and I can do all that from this page without having to actually navigate to that person's record. One other filtering option that I'll show you is the My Sent Messages. So this is sort of a unique filter. We talked in a previous video about how conversations were created, and I explained that just sending a text doesn't by itself create a new conversation. So if I have let's say a new lead and they've never texted us, we've got no conversation history and I were to send that person a text, or we have a customer and I need to send them maybe a notification, or there's an automation that sends some sort of an outbound notification, those would be outbound text messages, but they wouldn't necessarily create a conversation, and they may not be part of an existing conversation. But I still might want to see those. So if I click My Sent Messages and then go to this view, this will still show me really like an outbox of messages. So even though we're now really filtering around conversations, I can still see if there's any outbound texts that were sent. I can go and find those in the list. And obviously if that person, this person I sent an outbound text to were to reply back, then that actually would create a conversation and become visible through the other filters. So this is a little bit sort of scratching the surface of the Textey Conversations page and looking at some of the new features and how that works with our new conversations. So we'll do some more videos and explain a little bit more about what you can do with the inbox and the utility bar. And see you in the next video. Thanks.